All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our March 2024 meeting of the Discovery and User Experience Advisory Group. It's a small group today since the message B list demo is also going on right now. But we'll record this for anyone that's not able to make it today. I'm gonna share my screen here and go over what our agenda topics. We may have some time at the end, just depends, especially with the small group, how long our discussion topics go. So if you have other things to talk about, we may have time for that as well. All right, so here's our agenda. As always, we'll go over recent Aspen development. And I'll share just the current, we have kind of our priorities that we are going after to get addressed this year in terms of development. But there are also I'll talk more about the development priorities for the Aspen developers right now. Obviously, we're not the only folks on Aspen. So they've got a few things they're focusing on at the moment. And then I was going to see if any of y'all could clarify some of the priorities that came up out of our ducks priorities. See if we can have a little discussion about those, any kind of more insights in there for me to share back with the Aspen developers. Y'all have been asking for a long time on a report for titles that are missing cover images in Aspen. We're like making a little progress. We'll talk about that. And then we got discussion topics on Syndetics Unbound settings. We started that discussion a little bit in our last meeting. Filter locking, so the ability to save your filters across searches. And then I wanted to bring up the idea of a kids catalog. It's been a long time since this group has discussed that. There was some vehement, am I saying that right? Kind of opposition to the kids catalog in the past when we were looking at kind of other discovery platforms. So I was going to share what one library has done to create a kids catalog and use that maybe as a launching point to talk about the benefits of either having some kind of separate kids catalog or maybe just features that we want to talk about that would help youth services staff and parents that are searching the catalog. And then the 2024 Aspen conference was just this past couple weeks ago. So if we've got some time, I'll share some of the ideas and topics that were shared there. And yeah. And then in case we start butting up against time, I do want to highlight that our next meeting, the May meeting, well, I'm hoping we can really drum up some participation in that. And I also kind of put this off a little bit, mainly so we have some time to work on stuff, but also because of this kind of double booking of the meeting today. We had the SWAN platform membership satisfaction survey. It's a little bit of a mouthful that went out to all SWAN member libraries. I think that was in February that wrapped up. The SWAN management team has been going through all of the written comments. Some of the, just kind of like Likert scale ratings sort of, those were a little bit easier to process, and those were shared at the last quarterly meeting. But the written comments going to take a long time to sort through and parse out. So we're getting towards the end of that process. So by the next meeting, we'll be able to share those and talk about as a group if there's any of the suggestions or kind of challenges with Aspen that were highlighted that we might want to address as a group. I will say one thing, just kind of a general kind of high level observation. A lot of the Aspen comments are very, very specific, which I see as a good thing. They're like super detailed, clear examples, whereas maybe other platforms that will go unnamed, people just said, this is terrible, I hate it, it's unusable. You didn't really get those at Aspen. So I feel like that's maybe a sign that folks are generally pretty happy with it, and the things that they see, that they encounter all the time, they're really specific and therefore, easier to address than sort of just being like overwhelmed, like, I really don't like this and I don't know how to, there'd just be too many things to list out. So it's good. I think we'll have a lot of good comments to go through, and yeah, and I'm hoping just to have some fun, either mock-ups, things for y'all to respond to, potential solutions to suggest. And I think that will be a fun meeting. So definitely try to show up for that May 23rd meeting. Great. Anything so far? Make sure I got my chat up. Okay. Let's talk Aspen development. Any questions off the bat about Aspen and recent releases with either web, the Aspen Discovery, the web catalog, or that app? I don't see anyone typing the chat. Okay. Let's see, I've got our release notes up here. I have those pages open. Yeah. Okay. So the 2403, the March 2024 release, just came out this week. It was a little bit later than usual because of the AspenCon this year, and it was a little bit lighter also because that conference was going on right around the time we would normally have our release. So I really just highlighted some little things here. There's both this release and the past release had some indexing improvements. So if you were ever noticing, an item that was just checked in was maybe not updating the status in Aspen, that was usually because there's a longer index that runs in the morning and it looks at a full extract from Symfony. And that one just, these indexes that run throughout the day are typically running around every 10 minutes, but that morning one typically takes a couple hours. And ideally, it starts, it kicks off, in the middle of the night, and it's all wrapped up by 9 a.m. is our goal. We were seeing that sometimes that was taking much, much longer. Those overnight processes were just taking so long that it was starting to bump up those, kicking off those shorter indexes just for changes throughout the day to update statuses, update changes to records, all that good stuff. So now we're seeing these are way faster. They were taking maybe like 11, 12, 15 hours before. They're pretty consistently taking about 6 hours, and they're wrapping up early. So that's great. Seeing those wrap up before the libraries open, that's the ideal. So we're still keeping an eye on the indexes. There was a couple bumps in the road between the last release and this one. I think we've mostly got those ironed out. Ironically, we were seeing the indexes finished quickly, but then sometimes they just wouldn't like kick off again for the little daily indexes. They'd have to have a manual kickoff. So I think those seem like all those kind of little kinks and have been ironed out, and we haven't had any any issues, knock on wood, for the past like maybe 2-3 weeks. So yeah, so we'll continue to keep an eye on those, but excited about those indexing improvements. And the big kind of feature thing that we got in this release was the ability to show events browse categories. So there's this little screenshot here of the Lita app. Are any of y'all's libraries using the events browse categories? Have y'all tried that?
I did put it together. So Messenger has that now.
Yay!
We're kind of just testing it. It's not super attractive because it's just the dates. If you go back one, it's the last category.
Great. Oh, great. And I like that you've gotten broken down by audience.
So it was pretty easy to set up, but I don't know if we're going to keep it on because I don't know if it's going to be super helpful for patrons. We'll see.
Yeah, just seeing like kind of the well, if you have some suggestions or things you'd like to see, I am trying to now that you see that, yeah, you've got a custom you got an image uploaded here for you. Yeah, so a future enhancement could be, talking about how the names and dates of the events are displayed. if that's something that would make a difference. But yeah, I'm so glad you tried it out. And then I really like the kind of breaking down by audience. I think that's great. Have you taken a look at it in your app yet?
I have not actually, but I
I'm
can.
curious about that. And it looks like Lisa, you just commented in the chat that you turned it on for Roselle. And you did try the app. How does it look in the app? Is it helpful? Doesn't load anything in the preview. Okay.
Yeah, when you scroll down to see the browse category, because I've left them at the very, 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 very bottom on the app, you get the fact that it's events and you get these breakouts that we've built, but there's no information. So until you actually select the header, then it pulls up more information.
Yeah, it just has the little I'll come back to the screenshot here. Yeah, it just has those dates and the event titles.
It actually didn't load that for me. So maybe it just needed more time. Maybe if I go back and check on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it should load the dates and the title of the event. And then since you've found them broken out, it should show like events, children and family, teen, adults. I will say this came up when we were testing, but I don't think it should impact anyone, because I wouldn't recommend doing this anyway. If you create a list-based browse category of events, that won't show up in the app. But I think it's kind of silly to create a list-based browse category for the events, just because they will obviously expire over time. So these are all search-based, so they should show up. And if you don't know what I mean, it just means that you're creating the browse category by searching instead of adding the events to the list, which is also an option for depending on your events provider. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to try that. You may play around with the headings kind of thing, how those show up in the app for you. And if you notice, hey, this feature would make these look a lot nicer. I have secretly wondered if libraries would want to be able to show them in the app and not on their Aspen web catalog. And if that's something you want, let me know, open a ticket. And that's something, kind of a feature enhancement request we could talk about, pass along for development.
Tara, do you want to see screenshots of things that aren't looking right in the app?
Yeah, definitely send me those screenshots. And if you can, there's an additional screenshot that is lovely to get. If you go, I have to bring my phone up to make sure I tell you the right thing. It is under more preferences support. There's a screen that will list out, and I'm locked out, of course, but it will list out your the version that you're on, your device information, taking a screenshot of that. It's again, that's under more preferences and support. That screen is super helpful for helping the developers to troubleshoot bugs. Angelie suggests an improvement might be a mouse over that brings up more information about the events. That could be something we look at, but that would not be an enhancement for the app since there's no mouse overs. So just something to keep in mind there. And then, yeah, Ashley, give us a second, see the idea of showing the events in the app, but not the web-based catalog. So that may be something to think about as well. that we can explore some of those ideas. Well, cool. I'm glad y'all are trying that out, and definitely send me those screenshots. Yeah, if you're seeing anything weird, we can try to figure that out. All right. Anything else with the release? This one didn't have a lot to look at quite yet. Yeah, and then another release that came out in February. Again, that one, the big thing was the performance improvements to help address some of those indexing issues we've been having. So I'm hoping that is going to be better for folks now. And also there's this kind of new look for the library hours and location screen. It's kind of like aligning LEDA and the Aspen Web Catalog. So if you, I don't know if any of y'all have done anything fancy with that, but you can upload an image of the library now, which is nice. I just did this test with the Brook Public Library. So you can add an image, and then if you add hours, those will kind of display a little nicer, and next to you'll all have the map of your library. Yeah. Anyone played with the hours and location settings?
How do you access that?
Yeah, so it's through your location settings. So if you go down here, it's under primary configuration locations. So if, like, for example, Oak Park, you would have 3 locations, everyone else just has the one, and that's where you would add your address, which should already be added for you, and would have your geolocation information based on that would generate the map for you. But it's totally optional to add a phone number, hours. I believe you can also add an email, and that I don't think it's listed here, but there is a field for that, I'm fairly sure. And then there would also be that option to add an image if you want to do that. Yeah, and then we just had a couple of bug fixes, and then in LEDA, this was the first part of the events integration, came out in February so that you could search in events. And then also there was, this is small but really nice now that you now that we've got it, the browse category labels would get truncated, and now there's a nice little word wrap. So if you have a super long browse category title, which especially happens if you have subcategories, so it'll show the parent category like new at the library, adult fiction, then that whole title will show. I think every release has a couple improvements for the dark mode. So if you're a dark mode user like I am, you should see those. See that continuing to get better. Any other questions on the events integration or indexing? So the current development priorities, right now, the Aspen developers are, this isn't listed actually because I think they're actively working on it right now, is separating out the abridged editions from regular editions. That's been certainly on our cataloging folks' mind for a long time now. And then also separating out graphic novels from book editions, making sure those are kind of getting split out into their own format. So you'll probably see those coming up in the next couple releases. And then on the horizon to work on are the #1 priority for the Aspen Web Catalog is e-content integrations, and basically improving the existing e-content integrations, which for us really means Hoopla Flex. That's the one we've got our eye on. I know there's quite a few SWAN libraries that have that or adding that. It's also in discussion with the e-resource advisory group. SWAN could potentially start a Hoopla Flex collection that would sort of supplement our libraries. So you could go to the e-resource advisory meetings if you want to talk more about the kind of ins and outs of that as we look at that. But we wouldn't really add that collection until we can get it into the catalog. So right now there's no ability to add the Hoopla Flex collections. And we'd also just like to see some improvements with our Hoopla integration in general. So that's kind of the biggest one, I think, for Swan folks. That we're hoping to see some Hoopla integration improvements. Partly because also this collection is just really big, so that's another area for improvements, like for indexing speed, just because there's more Hoopla records than there are ILS records even. So that's just a lot of it just takes a lot of time to index all of those. And doing a better job, especially like kind of looking at the differences between libraries, Hoopla instances and collections as we're integrating them. And then for LIDA, the big current development priority coming up next is going to be the push notifications. So we've got push notifications that I don't think anybody's using. The manual notifications. Some of your patrons may have the Save Search notifications, and there is one other one that's just escaped my mind. But I think that the big push notice that everyone really wants is my hold is ready at the library. Let's come pick it up. So that's going to be really big. It might take a while. I will say Symphony will not be the first ILS integrated. I can just tell you that now. So the developers will have to integrate every ILS, and they'll go one by one. And I will just tell you right now, I know that the first ILS that they work with will be Koha. It's the easiest for them to develop against. So that's usually what they start with when they have new ILS-based features. But Symphony, there's a big group of those folks. So I think, the next one might be Symphony or one of the innovative Polaris or Sierra. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. We won't be the first, but when you when you see that the work has begun, that they've started some of the processes, then can start getting excited. It's probably once Koha is integrated, then they'll move on to the others pretty quickly. So yeah, and we might be coming to this group at the May meeting as well for input on that. Just like talking, and definitely we'll be talking among our other user groups too about just like timing, like our holds notices, I believe go out at 2 p.m. right now for emails. So we might, have a delay so that you're not, if your patrons they work across the street and they get a push notice as soon as you scan that hold, it might be a little soon for them to show up 5 minutes after you check that item in. So talking about, kind of some of the very practical logistics of notices, notifications there. But yeah, any comments, questions, especially around Hoopla integrations or push notifications, since those are coming up fast. I'm seeing it typing in the chat. All right. And the next thing I wanted to ask y'all, there were 2 priorities that came out of our kind of brainstorming activity that we did at the end of last year. And 2 of these, I just don't know what they mean. So I need some clarification. So one of the things requested was DVD Blu-ray Compro display improvements. Can anyone talk to that? Oh, Dana has an example. Oh, I'm waiting. Yes, please do send an example, Dana.
Oh, you want an actual picture of it? I was just gonna tell you what the
Oh,
title was and have you pull it up or
yeah,
something.
just the title is great. I'm happy.
Yeah,
anything.
because they know I'm in this meeting and they know I've worked in circ and tech and adult is after me about this. They're like, patrons are still having issues with the holds. It was the night they came home. Well, obviously it's a movie. Hello, we're doing DVD Blu-ray combo pack stuff. Okay,
Here.
so there's two instances. They both say Blu-ray DVD combo until you expand them. The
Okay.
top one appears to be only separate DVDs and Blu-rays. And then the second
Okay.
one is a combo pack. So we had a patron that really legitimately wanted the combo pack, and he placed a hold before expanding it and just got the Blu-ray and was deeply disturbed by this. So it's like stuff
Oh.
like that. So
All right, I can answer. This is like an error, basically. And Claudia, on our food services team has been diligently going after this issue. And I think finally figured out, essentially, yeah, the way these formats are getting applied is, just has some issues. And maybe some of the ways that like the things that Aspen is looking at. I think some of the 500 notes were getting pulled in. So if there's a note like comes from a blue, originally part of a combo pack, it was getting applied as a combo format instead of a DVD separately, a DVD or a Blu-ray. So she's been shopping this through the Aspen libraries for a while. And I think there's finally going to be some movement to get this resolved. I believe the only other solution would be to remove all those notes that say combo pack when they're separated out, which isn't ideal, especially since it's a useful note for you, for your acquisition staff. So yeah, I think that's an area that's going to get addressed, but that's good to know that that's that issue and not like some other kind of display.
in my experience, that's what it is, just having those
Okay.
separated out, because patrons don't always click the expand thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Would be helpful. I will let my circulation services manager know that that's being looked at by Claudia.
Cool. Yeah, let's keep an eye out for that. I'm really hoping, honestly, that the next release will have that resolved. So in April, hopefully April and May, I'm really hoping we see some fix for that. Yeah, I wasn't sure. There's also, now I'm gonna struggle to think of I always pull up a Star is Born because there's like 85 bajillion editions of that. Yeah, so this kind of comes up sometimes also as a complaint. I don't want to say a complaint, but just like a challenge, I guess, depending on your library, that there's just so many different editions. I don't really know what to do about it because there's 4K Blu-ray, Blu-ray DVD combo, DVD. Some libraries have a policy that they only buy the combo pack. I think I've talked to Downers Grove about this in the past, and they want to
Bloomingdale does that too.
yeah. So I've had like requests to like hide the Blu-ray or DVD or have some like, we've talked through like, crazy logic in the background to like, if you request the Blu-ray to really get the Blu-ray DVD combo, if you're at a certain library and it was just, after kind of going around, it was just sort of like, this is sort of, there's not really like a technology solution, unfortunately, for dealing with that. So, and in some cases, like in this case, Rizal clearly splits them out. I can tell that right now because you've got one on shelf. So hopefully in a lot of cases, you'll see, the version your library buys is on shelf, but not always. And there are going to be patrons that unfortunately request, maybe the Blu-ray when the Blu-ray DVD combo would get to them faster. So that's sort of like a known challenge, I guess, to having libraries handle the DVDs and the DVD combo packs differently across the consortium. Yeah. Okay, the other one I have a question on was it's a little more vague, the better database integration. I don't know what that means specifically. I'm sure it could be, there's lots of ways it could be better. I'm just not exactly sure what that request was hoping to see. Crickets. I don't see anything in the chat. Yeah, maybe that's just not so Mr. Deal. Okay. Whoever wrote that is clearly not here today. So I don't know. It'll be like maybe like a generally something to strive for, but I don't know. There's not, I can't, there's not enough there to like make a development request, but yeah, luckily this one should be getting addressed soon. And Julie says, I did not suggest that one, but is it for giving search results for articles that could be found in a database? So we do have that ability. Go back to Roselle's catalog here as an example. And we do have the database search. So I don't know what's the classic global warming. The top of all, or maybe climate change would be a better search. Did a pretty good job with that. And that will search your databases.
Is that still limited to EBSCO databases?
It is limited to databases that are integrated into the EBSCO Discovery Service. So SWAN subscribes to EDS or the EBSCO Discovery Service. That is the backend, and then that's just the backend that's feeding into Aspen. Most databases do integrate, however, ProQuest databases famously do not. So that's why you don't see like Chicago Tribune, stuff like that. But Gale, it does include like your Gale databases that are included in EDS. So yeah. I will just say, I have no idea where things are going. We are down to, I think we're down to tomorrow is the last day for the statewide database RFP. For any of you that are following along, like we are, just like, I want to know. I want to know what RFPs they got. I can't wait. I want to find out. So yeah, we'll see how the statewide database deal turns out, what vendors they go with. You know, I imagine we'll probably stick with EDS, you know, but if it turned out they went like all ProQuest, that's certainly we were gonna have to consider and think about what we're using for our federated database search. So that will definitely be, again, encourage you to come to the e-resource advisory meeting. That will be next month. I imagine by that point we'll have a little bit more information to start chatting about what's going to happen. Michelle asked if we know when the Eldons announce the results or selections, and no, we know just about as much as you do. We don't have any special information. I just know the RFP closes tomorrow. I am hoping that at least the vendors that submitted proposals will get posted shortly. And I think, if I remember, don't quote me on this. You know, I think the plan is that by June there will be at least that the committee will have selected the database vendors they're going to go with. It'll probably take a while after that to roll it out and like go live and all of that good stuff. But I think by this summer we'll have an idea of what will be included. So yeah, that's the database integration in Aspen. But again, it's using the EDS APIs. and depending on the statewide database deal, if they really did just go like all ProQuest all day, all the time, for everything, then we might have we may have a conversation about, looking at a different federated search provider. But EDS has been serving us pretty well for the past, gosh, I don't know how many years we've had it but for quite a while. And then also, just as a note, if you're in your library catalog and you search, there is the explore more area that will take you to magazine and journal results. So that will essentially take you right out to those article and database results. So yeah, if there are any other ideas about the database integration, some of this could have been related to, those ProQuest, Chicago Tribune, that kind of stuff. I'm just not sure. Or even like placards, which is what we kind of recommend for things like Chicago Tribune or others. I know some libraries have subscription. They offer a discount, basically, or a free access to the New York Times. But there's it's like basically you're going through the New York Times, but you get like a discount code. Placards are also a good way to route your patrons to those. Anything else there? Move on to the good stuff. I mean, not that wasn't good stuff, but our discussion topics. Okay. I get so excited. The Aspen developers pulled a report for us on records in Aspen that are using that default generated cover image. I don't know if I can even find one. It'd be like basically like this. This is kind of a specific one for the articles. I don't know if there's going to be any on this page. This is a pretty generic search. Okay, I'm not going to dig around, but you've probably seen that default cover image before when there's a missing image for, we don't have an image for that particular record. And so that report was much larger than I anticipated. It was about 170,000 lines or record IDs. As we realized when we started digging into the data, a lot of those are actually suppressed records. So they're part of our Symphony export. It's getting sent over to Aspen. It's getting stored in the database. It just never shows up in the catalog. We don't have a great idea yet about how many of those are suppressed records. But even if it was half, which is a lot, half of 170,000 records to go through is still a lot. And I think that one of the reasons for this request was that libraries could go in, they could filter by their titles that their library owns, and then upload that cover, upload a custom cover for those things that Synthetix does not provide a cover. So essentially that's sort of like where we're at right now. The other challenge is because it's so many, I had this, this idea in my mind. We get this list. It'd probably be large, but not 170,000 items large. We'd be able to work some magic in Blue Cloud Analytics and develop a report or a dossier where libraries could go in and filter down to the records that their libraries have items attached to, and be able to say like, okay, I have this thing, I own it, I know I can upload the cover, and kind of work their way through. We're not gonna be able to do that because it's just so many. So yeah, I don't know what else to necessarily share with that. But I did want to ask, like, okay, if you had a list of like 20,000 titles, it's probably like I feel like too many titles, right? To even realistically get through. So yeah, is this something you're still interested in us exploring, even if we're able to kind of whittle it down, or is it just so many titles that it's or so many records that it's not really going to be feasible?
Is this something where individual libraries are able to put up cover images for things? Like, for example, I'm guessing like our Library of Things has the generic image for it. Are we able to input pictures for that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a Glen Ellen, I think, that has something to do with Glen Ellen's here. They've done a lot to upload images for their Library of Things. I just know because I've worked with them when there were some issues with some images a while back. So yeah, and Jean says they do that all the time. So that could be one place to start, just encouraging libraries to upload stuff for their Library of Things, because definitely those are not going to have images for sure. Jean asked if we could limit by year. So that was one of the things I wanted to suggest. We can definitely sort the record numbers essentially from high to low, right? So the new ones are bigger numbers. And the ones that have a record ID of like 4 are really, really old. So that might be a more realistic thing to get some of the start with the newer record IDs and see. Yeah, Jean says it's a pain to get images for things for sure, especially if it's something that it's not getting an automatic image. It means it's hard to get an image for. But yeah, okay. So maybe I'm hearing it would be helpful if we maybe we just went back to records added in the past year, maybe started there, see if that's something, and then certainly filtering out the suppressed records. I think that'll help, because there's a lot of the new records are suppressed records because they're temporary records created for ILL items. As we were kind of going through and spot testing, we realized like, oh, a lot of these are just to check out ILL items to folks. So yeah, they don't have any covers and they don't need to because they're suppressed. So I think that might be a game plan. Michelle said, you noticed some images with our Library of Things yesterday. We could talk about that. But errors of images is strange. And
So
I have your catalog up, Michelle. So what were some of them?
if
that
you,
saw?
yeah, if you click on kids, it's our Book Buddy bag. And you'll see there's some super random title like cover images showing. And when you click to go into the list, the images are still there. But when you click into the item, the image is not. I just noticed that.
Okay, so we're in the item, and this
So
is
that
the
has-
record. Okay.
So that has the correct image, but on the search results, it's showing some random book. And some of them are vaguely like on topic, actually, like that, or I don't know, but that doesn't mean anything.
Somehow this has, all right, I'm gonna do something here. This must have an image attached to the group work, and I don't know why. So here's a little trick in the staff view. You can go to the group work. And I don't know why this has an image attached to the group. I'm gonna try reloading the cover. Sometimes you gotta do a hard refresh. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why that got attached. So it should only, Yeah, now it's gone. It shouldn't be getting attached based on ISBN, which this does not have an ISBN. So I'm not really sure why that would be, but there's something in that record maybe that seemed like an ISBN. I don't know. That costs Syndetics to attach. So this seems like not probably a Book Buddy bag. Yeah, and that's not there on the record. Let's see if we go to the grouped work. It is for some reason attached to that record. I don't know why. Let's look at all this information here. That's really odd. Well, I'll reload this one, but that's something, that's something we would keep an eye on. Here's my still, nope, still bad. One more hard refresh. Let's see that. There we go. All right. Were these added recently?
No, I don't think
No.
any of the buddy bags have been added in the last year, at least. Some of them
Not in the
are,
last
you know,
year.
15 years old.
Okay, well then. My theory of group record IDs getting reused probably doesn't apply then. Okay. I don't know. I don't have a theory. I'm gonna have to investigate that one. That's really odd. And you just noticed this coming up recently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look through these frequently, but I was showing them to a patron on our OPAC and I was like, oh, something's wrong with the search. It's pulling in these other items. And then I clicked on the search and saw, no, that's the right item. It's
Yeah,
just the wrong cover. So,
Great. Well, feel free to try to do that trick with these if you want to. Of going to the group work and refreshing, reloading the cover. I'm not sure why these got applied, but if you also want to leave, if you don't mind leaving these, I can use them as an example to send to some coworkers. Like, why is this happening?
that's fine. You
Yeah.
can use them.
It's what's odd to me is there's no ISBN on here, so it really should not have it should not have any like automatically added image. I do want to look one thing. Even though
If
it's probably
we-
super, really, really super boring to watch me go through all of these things.
If we had added an image for these items, would that always like take priority over these accidents?
It should, yeah.
Okay.
Image source. Google title author. Huh. That's weird. I've seen that before. It's usually default or Syndetics.
I just
So
noticed
that
the
might be a
title of
hint.
this one says Book Buddy Bag, but Buddy is missing the U.
Oh, is it a
Yeah.
typo? Oh, weird.
I know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because there's other ones that it's correct and it still has the magical Thinking Big book.
Yeah. But it is definitely saying that the image source is Google title author.
It did say that on the other ones too.
Okay, that's a hint there. I'm gonna save.
So you
save that little
uploaded the
note
picture,
myself.
but it's not showing.
No, for these, we did not upload any picture. Like it should have had that blank space like all the other ones did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But I was
Yeah,
asking if we
kinda
did
think-
upload a picture, would that fix it?
Okay.
it would fix it. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so like,
Okay, but I've had this happen where we uploaded the picture and it took the picture and stuff. But then even when you like dumped your cookies and went to another browser and stuff, it would show like the wrong picture in this view. And then if you go on the item record, it would have the right one.
It will sometimes take,
And then it
the
like
cache is a
eventually
little bit
resolved.
persistent, so you do have to,
Like a
soon
couple
as it
weeks
will
later,
take it.
it's fine.
And really, it's probably fine for anyone loading that browse category for the first time, but since you were on your computer and you clearly looked at all of these views, so you probably need to do a hard refresh also of your browse categories to, like that one updated pretty quickly.
It was
you may
showing
just-
the same image errors on like this laptop and our OPAC and then your computer. So I don't know if that.
Oh, no, this is, that was definitely an error with, so like
Okay.
I took this, I forced a refresh of the cover. So it should
Got it.
also be, so it was wrong on everything, but it should also be fixed on everything. But if you're uploading an image and you see, like, if you add an image, you know, to this record and you're seeing it in the item, it is going to populate everywhere else. It may take a minute, you know, with caching and all of that kind of stuff. But it will eventually show up everywhere. You just may need to refresh, you know, refresh some browsers, especially for the browse categories. That's a good example, and that's weird. I have not seen that Google title author as an image source before. It would usually, like, I'll show you one that's I'll still going back here. But it would normally say synthetics. Like if I go, let's go to the Posh. Nope, I went back. Sorry, my internet's a little bit slow. Okay. Yeah, so in the staff view, this one I bet, yeah, it would say synthetics. That's a really odd one. We may just ask for like a refresh of anything that has that Google title author designation. Okay, so title doesn't cover images. We'll keep plugging away at it, see if we could just add a set of those record IDs into our report. And then what would be helpful for you all in terms of information to filter on? So I'm assuming you probably want to be able to sort down by things your library actually has items for. Is there other information, you know, title, author? What else would help you kind of decide and what to tackle? Would audience be helpful?
Audience might be helpful. Could you get as detailed as like collection? So we would know if it was the Library of Things or just a random fiction book.
We could probably pull an item type,
Okay.
if that would be helpful. It might slow things down. We don't know the limit, but let me tell you, it is 170,000 items, records to filter by is definitely exceeds whatever limit that is. So we still have to find the hard cap. Yeah, I just did not like that. Okay. All right, so yeah, we'll look at a report with item type, audience, and then you can filter obviously by your library, and then maybe showing title and author. And then we'll look at newer record IDs and then filtering out the suppressed records, which I think what we're actually gonna do. I don't know if this will help our indexing at all, but just kind of realizing that we're sending those suppressed records. There's no reason to send them to ask, and they're never gonna show up. So I want to look at just removing the suppressed records from our export, so they're not even getting sent over. So then they wouldn't even be something that's returned as not having a cover. And might speed up our indexing, may have no impact at all. It's probably not that, it's probably a drop in the bucket compared to all the stuff we have, but it's worth a shot. So yeah, we'll keep looking at that. Okay. Synthetics, unbound settings. So essentially we've got synthetics unbound set up on the consortia catalog. We still got novelist select recommendations enabled on every other catalog. So here's what they look like in the catalog. And I think where we need to go next is to essentially figure out, do we want to, because we had our usability test, or our A/B test, and we saw that synthetics got more use than the novelist select options. I think what we want to do is just give folks the option to either opt in or opt out of making a change. But what do you all have any thoughts about? Also, there's some I wanted to review the options. We can kind of customize some of the display of synthetics in the way we can with novelist. But I wanted to see if there's any, what y'all's thoughts were. Would you want to stick with novelist select recommendations? Let's bring up another catalog here with the novelist stuff enabled, so you can see that. Or would you, I guess one of the things I'm sort of debating is, do we make this an opt-in or an opt-out? Do we tell folks we're going to switch you over to synthetics, but if you want to opt into novelist select, you could do that instead of making that switch over?
So the links wouldn't go to novelist anymore, right? They would go to somewhere else.
The links in novelist select never went to novelist, actually.
Okay.
It's like powered by novelist, just like it's powered by synthetics. But it searches, if you click on one of these recommendations, it's gonna take you out to the catalog record. Yeah. And the same with any of these. If you click on one, it's going to take you to a search.
Do you have any data on what parts were clicked on more in the synthetics versus novelist? Like the tags looks really interesting in synthetics. Do you have any data on like, oh, a lot of people click on the tags or something like that?
We actually just looked at the email so like and the authors, I think. Wasn't there yes, similar authors. So it was just the covers. We didn't actually measure the tags and how much use that was getting. So it's something we could add some more tracking if we want to keep monitoring things. But like I said, right now it's just on the Swan catalog. I also secretly, I want this heading to change, but I don't know how to do it. Like, I haven't found a way to do it. We're supposed to be able to change all the labels. We can change like just about any other label except for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't want to all switch to this, because if it's doing better and getting more clicks and people are getting further in our catalog and everything.
Another kind of question I have for this group to consider is, like, would we show them more like this, which does get a lot of use, but then we also have, it's like, there's more and there's more. I know that's something we want to also evaluate before making any changes. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, Michelle asks, well, essentially that's the money question, right? So one thing for us to consider is if, as Swan, we pay for Novelist Select right now as part of our EBSCO package. That's up for renewal in 2025. So we've got a little bit of time to make any decisions. Yeah, we're basically kind of considering, supposedly, Synthetics has just switched us over to give us the enhanced content along with our covers. And they're not going to raise our fees, but we're also sort of weighing that too. But I imagine it seems most likely there could be some potential cost savings by dropping Novelist Select.
Would we
go ahead.
Would we lose the ability to use Novelist if we switch to Syndetics Unbound?
No, so your library could opt to have your own subscription for Novelist Select. And I should also, like, there's all the unfortunate naming. The Novelist Plus subscription has nothing to do with Novelist Select. So Novelist Select is just a catalog integration, and that's what Swan provides. Novelist Plus, your library purchases that through your EBSCO database packages.
Got it. Okay.
There's also no strong preference. Yeah, I'm thinking what I might do is just put little bullets out essentially to our Swan libraries, outlining our A/B test, that this got more interaction, and see if there's any libraries that want to choose to continue to use Novelist if they would like, with the kind of caveat that if we ever drop the subscription as Swan, then they could purchase their own. I might need to, kind of go over some of the details with our Swan folks, Swan staff here, just about the subscription details and when those dates would be. But I think that's likely, seems like a route to go. Is anything else about that? To the end of our agenda here. All right. Filter locking. This is something we looked at when we were evaluating Aspen. People got confused. We're like, oh my God, we'll worry about it later. And I think the time has come to look at this again. So I've set up here, this is a little example. Don't worry, St. Charles, I did not mess up their catalog. This is kind of, if you've never done this, it's kind of fun. You can scope your catalog. Oak Park knows about this because they're the only library where this really helps them. But you can scope your catalog to a specific branch. So I've scoped this catalog to the St. Charles Public Library drive-up window, which is not a catalog anyone uses. So we could play around, and then I added the ability for that specific location to lock filters. So we can play with locking the filters. And so here's sort of where these are for the moment. We've got these icons, which I do like. Those are nice and obvious. We've put in a search, lock the filters, and you know, and we've got that narrowed down. And then if I do another search, it will preserve those filters. But let's say I add, if I do a movie title, let's see, I'm gonna do, don't think this will have a large print version of it. Maybe actually that was probably a bad search, but we'll find it. Oh, it was okay. I need to find a movie that, which I should have had something ready to go. That's not gonna be. Maybe I'll try. I'm really surprised that came up. This is, you know that Billy on the street? Yeah, it's where he just like runs up to a woman and says, name a woman, any woman. And she's like, that's how I feel every time I have to think of the title. Okay. I'm actually looking at the book on my table right now. Okay, good. No results. So here I've searched for this book title. It does not exist. Okay. And I'm gonna remove the large print. Probably still not getting results. I'm gonna remove the juvenile. And it's like really persistent. It's really hard to get rid of these filters. And when I get rid of them, I still can't do my search. And I do my search again. And it's still really stuck. There's kind of like no way to reset your filters. What I have to do, if I go back and do a generic search, I can unlock my filters. And then now I can do my search and I will get my titles. And here's the book I was looking for. So essentially, I think this is still not working great in Aspen, and we want to make some requests to improve that. So I wanted to ask you all, what would you like to see from lock filters? And I have a few examples here from our fellow area libraries. So Chicago Public Library, when you apply a filter, you have this option to pin it. This is like a little toggle. And then in the Vega, this is the Vega pilot that CCS was running. This one's kind of interesting. Each of these little filters is a lock. So the little Commons takes the route of like, whatever's applied, apply it to everything. Vega takes the route of each little individual filter. As you check it, you can lock it and apply. And then to remove them, you would, and I'm really curious, you know, if you got no results, what would end up happening? But then you would just unlock those filters. And I believe you have to reapply. So what would you all like to see for locked filters? Or would this be something that you would find helpful? And we've had some requests for it.
I think it's a really good idea, but I think I need to think more about what I would want out of it.
I do really like those sort of tabs across the top from the other two examples where you can just X out of them, that would be really nice. And that would be
Yeah.
more like a lot of like online stores give you that option to filter. They're not locked, but you can just X out of whatever you've filtered by.
Yeah, I think I was definitely feeling like if you remove a filter, it should remove the lock. Which was basically how those worked as well. Not there, but here. If you close out of that filter, it will just break the lock, basically. Okay, onto
Yeah,
the is great. Yeah.
I think the individual lock where you have to click for every single factor that you want to add or delete is a lot.
Yeah. So obviously there should not be an ebook for children. And then the very least, I also I think having a clear, like some ability to clear the lock, I think is a minimum. But I'm also curious, is there as we're kind of applying filters from different groups, each time you apply the lock to lock it, if it's just sort of like, I like this combo, if we just really want to have a lock at the top and out, or be able to lock specific, you know, if there's a value to having the specific groups. I guess I'm thinking of a scenario like, say, clear these all out here. To say I am I want to use services desk. I have a student that really wants a book about squids. I search. I limit by an audience. Lock that filter. And you know, maybe I just always want my juvenile filter blocked, but I want to have other filters. So, you know, then the next person that comes up is looking for I don't know, movies about trucks, for example. And potty training books, something like that. And whatever filters you had applied for squid books, you don't necessarily want for your like truck movies. If that makes sense. So just kind of trying to throw out different scenarios here. Is there value to just locking everything as you see it? Or you know, having certain filters that like would just stick, and while others would reset each time.
Did you lock a particular genre or something? I could see some patrons really liking, like, I only ever want to see the romance books. So like,
Yeah, you could also lock, let's see what's gonna come up here. Oh, I have, let me remove that one. Also just realized that my juvenile filter is, you know, doesn't help a lot either. Oh gosh, I don't have the subject lock on, but you can set that up.
Tara,
Yeah.
I have a question. So if they had, let's say, I don't know, either a subject or an audience, something locked, Would a search for a specific title that necessarily wouldn't fall within their realm of locked filters, would that item still come up for them? So like, let's say they only, they have the locked filter for juvenile items, but then the parent's trying to request their book club book and it's,
Yeah, it would be, it would not come up.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the challenges of not having, making storing search here. Yeah, we don't have like a great way to remove filters, especially I think this time there's just one, so we might be able to remove it. No, it's really, really persistent. We can't even get rid of it because it's locked. So that's the big challenge with that. I think if maybe I can add one. There we go. All right. Yeah, so it's definitely awkward right now. I think we want to keep at it. Yeah, this might be something we come back to. In the meantime, kind of think about your own search patterns and what would be helpful. If this sort of global, let's say try these 2 catalogs. I can post these in the chat here too. Chicago Public Library is pretty easy to find. This one is a little harder to find. So I don't know that CCS is still in the pilot for that. The catalog stuff, so that's helpful. Yeah, it's like kind of lacking some filters and not others. Would there be value in that? Or just kind of getting that, your super secret recipe that you really like that helps you, saving those to be persistent across searches and then just Xing out of them when you don't want to use them. Certainly, I think the way the filters are saving right now in Aspen is just too, it's a little, they're like too locked. It's too hard to break the lock. And if you want to play around with this, so this is a little bit odd, but I've got it. There's a little URL parameter here that sets it to the drive up window branch. If you want to clear that, which I'm going to do right now, you just delete that code for the branch so that it's any of the branches, and then that way, because it does save that little URL parameter, just saves a cookie for that location. So yeah. So yeah, I don't have the lock filters enabled on any live catalogs because I think it would lead to mass confusion. So we definitely, at the very least, I think want to get that sort of a process in place to very easily remove the locked filters. Just close out of them and they're gone. We'll keep poking at that. And then I'm gonna make sure we've only got 8 minutes left, but start the conversation at least about what would be useful for a kid's catalog. So I want to share. Where is that? Oh, I've got it up here. Okay. So this is the McKinney Public Library catalog, and then this is their kids catalog. I'm gonna plop that in the chat as well for y'all to take a look at. I'm gonna point out some of the things they've done, with also the caveat that we'd have to get a little bit creative that they've set up. Essentially like it's just like setting up another library system. Like when we added Addison, they've got like another kids library system, and that works for them because they're one library system. We're 100 libraries. As mentioned, our indexes take a long time to run. If we add 100 separate catalogs, that's twice as long for all of our indexes to run. We don't want to do that. But this is still an idea we can explore, and we just might have to get creative with like how we've implemented it. So I'm mainly saying that it's not going to be like out of the box as simple for us to set it up. It's not like, the roadmap is there, but we're gonna have to find some creative ways to maybe do it a little bit differently than they've done if we have a separate catalog. And I also want to talk about some of the features they've added and things that maybe pros and cons of having a separate kids catalog versus maybe some features we could add to a regular standard catalog, that parents are going to see when they're at home, looking for their stuff and their kids' stuff. So here's what they've done to customize this catalog. So they've got browse categories that are specific to their kids. So like you'll see they have Women's History Month. They have all the adult titles, and on their kids catalog, they've got the youth focused titles. If we search for Drux, we're gonna see here. And I'll just go ahead and do that here too. We'll see they have some different search results. So that's 879 results. This is 549 in the kids catalog. And the reason is that they've limited by, I believe their item types, which you don't actually bring into the Aspen catalog. So we'd have to kind of talk about the ways we might limit those, but there are limiting, you could also limit by audience. So they've got some limits in place, so adult stuff isn't coming. And those are really, I think, the main things. And then there's also, I think all of their filters you see are the same. So they still have their Lexile measure and AR reading level filters. And then the awards, I don't believe those are at all filtered or any different. Yeah, so just kind of a start, and then you'll see some of these mini links also are if they have a link to their games and Beanstack. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up the idea of a kids catalog again and see where your thoughts are. Is this something you're interested in? Is it something that would or wouldn't be useful in your library, especially in your youth areas?
I don't want to limit kids to only finding items in the juvenile section. I think that I don't know.
It
What
could
do you
be
have to say, Jane?
problematic because, yeah, it's a nice idea, but I have to agree because there's times when we're looking for stuff and there's nothing for kids about that subject because, as you know, kids ask for all kinds of crazy stuff that is sometimes very hard to find. But also, I mean, there's some stuff that's in adult that really, it's not unsuitable for children. It's just an adult would be much more likely to read it. If that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. It's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. I also think even in youth services, like adults are still using our OPACs to look up items for themselves. So I would want, I don't know that I would choose to limit, but if I did, I would want it to be very easy to switch over to search everything. But I do feel like a little bit, Kelly kind of made me think, is it limiting access by not even showing kids what is available in the library? So I don't super love that idea. I think the site is super cute and I love what they've done with their, like, can we do gifts in our, or whatever this is in our
Yeah, they used Canva. I thought they had like a graphic designer or something like that. Apparently they use Canva to make all of their really lovely headers. So definitely y'all can do that. Play around with it. I'd love to see how creative I kind of want to play with it too.
Yeah.
But-
When you said kids catalog, at first I thought you were going to, I've seen some where it's much more image heavy and like fewer text or less text and more images for searching.
Yeah, I mean, so this is like an idea that I sort of had. I think maybe other kids' catalogs at least have done something like this where you use the covers instead of the list view.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to go, but
Oh, that's okay. Oh my gosh, it's 2:59. Okay.
sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
Space next to home button for links. Yes, you can also do this. You can add links for sure. So yeah, I know we're running out of time. This is a good discussion. I think I'm hearing we don't want a separate kids catalog, but maybe we want to think about ways, certainly that maybe there's some things if we could customize sort of maybe some of the defaults that display in the kids area, but you could see the full collections. It seems like seeing the full collection is a priority. So I think we could talk maybe more about like what's helpful for finding kids stuff versus yeah, maybe versus a separate catalog. Sounds like that's not of interest. Well, thanks everyone for coming today. I'm sorry we ran up against time, but yes, I definitely hope you'll come to the May meeting. I think we'll have a lot of fun stuff to talk about then. I definitely appreciate your feedback on the kids catalog. It's like one of those things I'm always on the fence about, and I want to get your perspective, especially like working in the library every day with folks. Sometimes these things like seem like a good idea, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Those are all really, really good points. I'm sorry, this discussion was a lot shorter. Maybe, but we can definitely pick this back up again. Yeah, sounds like the consensus is no separate kids catalog, which is totally great. And yeah, we can talk about some other options to customize in our next meeting. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much for skipping the message me demo and coming here and stuff. I think this was probably way more fun, but I shouldn't say that. Take care, everyone, and I will see you in May or maybe at some of our upcoming Aspen users and e-resource advisory meetings. Also, check out the calendar for those. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.